Ninja Cat is still around. This is when ChipChip first arrived. She stayed out in the road for ages. And as she approached, then Pip turned up as well. I wasn't sure if it was the random fox to start with, but then realised it was Pip. ChipChip came back again. And Pip also came back again. He was getting a bit braver tonight. ChipChip then reappeared, and Pip ran off. A van came down the road which did cause Chip to run, but she did come back once the van had gone and parked up in his driveway. Kenny outside being a right pain, and he just wouldn't come in the door, so I left him outside. Pip then came back whilst Kenny was still outside. Pip was quite wary of Kenny. Both Kenny and Norman were out here at this time. Norman did come in, Kenny didn't. Kenny decided to go off for his little wander, as he does. And Kenny was still being a pain and wouldn't come in the door, even though I kept calling him. I tempted him with food, but he just didn't want to know. The random fox was the first one to arrive tonight. She was backwards and forwards a couple of times before leaving. And then Pip arrived. But ran when I turned the lights on. I honestly thought it was Chip to start with. ChipChip then arrives, but I hadn't seen her as I was going in the door, and as I turned the lights off, she grabbed a piece of sausage or chicken and ran off with it. I did feel bad, as I hadn't realised that she'd come back. Daphne then runs after Chip. ChipChip came back again. And was joined by Pip out in the street. I don't know if Pip was getting a little bit frisky towards Chip, but she did soon put him in his place. ChipChip then came over with Pip in hot pursuit. This is where she really tells him off. I then go out to them as I've spotted them on the camera, and they both run off. 20 minutes later, ChipChip has come back again, bless her. Takes a piece of chicken, and off she runs with it. By the time I've got out there, she's disappeared up the road, and I didn't even see her, to be fair. Kenny is still outside. He's been a right pain. I keep trying to get him in, but he's just not having a bar of it. I then go out as I've seen Kenny on the camera to try and coax him in, but he's still not having a bar of it. He decides to run in front of the camera and stay still so that we can see his fur and not his face. As I'm trying to get him in, Jack the neighbour, he comes home driving very, very slowly, and he says to me, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah, just trying to get Kenny to come in." But I did thank him for driving very, very slow. He normally drives slow because he sees that my lights are on. Kenny then reappears, but he's still not going to come in. So I try to go behind him, but he's not having a bar of that. And he runs back and goes under the car. So again, I leave him outside. And excuse my legs and my slippers. Norman has gone outside again. And Kenny decides to go for his wander up the road. Pip and Daphne are running around out in the street. And Pip runs over to the left-hand side, leaving Daphne to the right. Kenny then decides to head home, and as he decides to come towards the house, Daphne then decides to run after Kenny. She's almost like in hot pursuit of him, but he's not having a bar of it. He did stop at one stage, turn around, look at her, and then carried on walking. Daphne then decides she's had enough and runs off to the right. Kenny is still being defiant and won't come in, so he's having a good old sniff round the garden. And whilst he's out there, Daphne reappears. Daphne runs off into the road again, and while she's out there, Pip comes back. Whilst Pip is eating, Daphne is sat patiently waiting out in the road. Pip runs off and Daphne is still sat out in the road, bless her. Kenny then reappears and eats the remainder of the chicken that's outside on the ground. Daphne eventually leaves and Kenny decides he's going to come to the door. but he still won't come in and decides he's going for another wander. I think Kenny thinks he's on bouncer duty tonight because then he sits outside the property, protecting us. Kenny wanders off and Pip reappears and sits behind that white car for a few seconds. He then decides he's going to come over and have something else to eat. But runs off when I turn the lights on. Kenny sat there patiently waiting for me to let him in. And he came in eventually.